Hey everyone, it's Jim with Midwest Mouse here to talk to you about my experience with Disneyland After Dark. In this video, I'm going to answer a few questions for prospective attendees who are thinking about going to one of these events. Now, this video isn't necessarily for people who live in Anaheim or California and can go to Disneyland all the time. This video truly is intended for people like myself who live in the Midwest or further. I live in Chicago, who want to know more about these events and if it's worth checking out. And just because this video is not necessarily tailored to you, doesn't mean you can't watch it. Stick around. We're going to jump right in and talk about Disneyland After Dark. So first of all, what is Disneyland After Dark? Well, Disneyland After Dark is a special ticketed event that allows guests to mingle in the park after the park is closed. Now, they have hosted several different themes for these events, from 80s Night to 90s Night to Sweethearts Night in February and Star Wars Night in May. So these events have exclusive snacks, entertainment, merchandise, character meet and greets, kind of. I only say kind of because meet and greets really aren't what they were 2 years ago. Hopefully we'll get back to that, but you'll see in this video what I mean. So the After Dark event I purchased tickets for was Villains Night. And yes, I traveled all the way from Chicago for a fun night of dastardly fun in Disney California Adventure. One of the really cool aspects of this event, and really all the events, is people dress up. For this event, guests were dressed up as all kinds of villains. We had a ton of Cruellas, a ton of Maleficents, some evil queens. Everywhere you looked, somebody was dressed up in their villainous best. So for our outfits, we went for more of a modern look. My friend Jamie dressed up in the spirit of Tamatoa from Moana. She had a denim vest on with the word shiny spray painted in gold on the back. She did her makeup up nice and gold, wore all sorts of gold rings. She had pearls in her hair, the works. I went for my personal favorite when it comes to villains, Ursula the Sea Witch. For my inspired look, I put a few white streaks in my hair. I wore a purple sequin jacket, and I, of course, had the signature seashell necklace and seashell earring as well. We looked great. Everyone looked great. Everybody loved everyone's costumes. It was so cool to just see people dress up and get creative. Lots of looks inspired by all our favorite villains. For those of us that are new to this kind of experience, I certainly was. Please know this is a special ticketed event. Your ticket into Disneyland on any day is not going to get you into this event. So just because you have a valid theme park admission and maybe even a park reservation on the day of the event, you will eventually get kicked out once the event starts. On this day in particular, Disney California Adventure was open until 8 p.m. At 8 p.m., Villains Night started. So if you're a regular guest in the park on that day, you do have to leave after 8 o'clock. I think the shops on Buena Vista Street stay open. You will not be granted access to rides and experiences and even food or shops that are further into the park. For those of us that did attend Villains Night, we got this special lanyard that says Disneyland After Dark Villains Night, very much inspired by Maleficent with the purple and green. We also got a purple wristband, and that wristband was how they checked to see if you were part of this event or not. If you wanted to go onto a ride or buy food or drink, you flashed your wrist with your wristband and they welcomed you in. On this night in particular, they actually sectioned off chunks of the park. So if you were on Buena Vista Street, that was fine. But if you were going over to, Pixar Pier or to Hollywoodland to get further in, like towards the backlot area or towards the pier, you had to flash your wrist before they would even let you any further. So if you don't have a ticket for the event, you can't even walk around. They do push you towards the front of the park and eventually out. So how much does it cost? These tickets in particular were $119. I bought them in January of 2022. My understanding is that this was an event that was intended for 2 years ago, and we all know what happened 2 years ago. So it got postponed. So anybody that had a ticket for that event 2 years ago was able to reschedule for this day. I didn't have a ticket for it. I just saw that tickets were going back on sale, and I grabbed what I could. So tickets went live early in the morning on a day in January. Tickets went live at something like 11 o'clock. So I get online, I go to the portal to purchase tickets right on the dot, and I was immediately put into a queue, a virtual queue. Not a big deal. This happens a lot when you're shopping, or even if you're trying to buy tickets for concerts, things like that. It's very much like that. Now, tickets went live both for Villains Night and for Star Wars Night in May at the same time. So I had to wait 3 hours in line just to get my Villains Night ticket. Now, after I did my waiting and purchased my ticket for Villains Night, I was able to hop into the ticket portal for Star Wars Night without waiting additionally at all. They just let me right in. So if it is a situation where there's two different events and you don't know if you should buy this one first or that one first, pick one, do the waiting, and you'll be able to access the other tickets as well. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. For what it's worth, I'm not going to Star Wars Night, but I just wanted to see how that worked anyway. What time does the event start? I said before the event starts at 8 o'clock. However, if you have a ticket for an after hours event or an after dark event, you can get into the park, in this case, at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock is the mix-in time. So at 5 o'clock, people start flocking to the park who have tickets for these events. It was great for us because the Food and Wine Festival was going on, so we were able to get in around 5, grab something to eat, walk around, do some shopping before the event started at 8. And our event ran from 8 p.m. to midnight. Some of these events, though, are longer or shorter. The Star Wars one, I believe, runs from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m., and I think there's ones that run from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. It just sort of depends on the day. We were there on a Tuesday night, so maybe the hours would have looked different if this was on a Friday or a Saturday. So we got to the park a little bit after 5, maybe 5:30, and we got our lanyard. Upon entry, we also got an event guide, a map, a park map. So this is a park map of California Adventure, but on it, it has the usual stuff, but it also tells you where in the park are different photo ops, where are character meet and greets, where the live entertainment is, where the dastardly delicious delights are. Yes, they actually have themed food and drink for these events as well. The park was crowded as usual when we got there. About 8 o'clock, just masses of people started heading towards the exit because they couldn't go on anything. Only those with the wristbands were able to. Between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, people just thought, well, let's leave. And I think some of the rides actually closed early that night in preparation for getting people out. And once people exited from the usual theme park crowd, the park was fairly empty. I don't want to say fairly empty, but capacity is significantly reduced for these events. So less crowds and therefore shorter lines for just about everything. All right, now let's talk entertainment for the event. Now we encountered 3 different types of entertainment in the park this night. So the first event we encountered was Ursula's Seaside Sing-Along, located in the Pacific Wharf section of the park. This was pretty cool. There was like a little cabaret stage up there. Ursula was up there with her tentacles and she was singing, and she was basically the MC of the event. It was karaoke. So guests were able to actually sign up to sing really any song they wanted. So we heard a good variety of music, from current hits to classics to Disney villain songs, you name it. Now, just around the corner from this, in the Paradise Gardens part of the park, right in front of Pixar Pier, was the second entertainment event we saw, which was the Bald Mountain Nightclub, featuring classic villains and ne'er-do-wells crooning the night away. This was like a little stage cabaret show. They had 3 different performance times: 9:30, 10:30, 11:30. And villains would come, hit the stage, and they wouldn't sing their songs per se, but they would sing things sort of in the style of their song. The Evil Queen came on stage and sang Reflections from Mulan because Magic Mirror, right? Cute, kind of kitschy, tongue-in-cheek things like that. It was a lot of fun. And finally, the third and probably my favorite part, I think this was everyone's favorite part, the third event we saw was the Underworld Dance Party. This was located in Hollywoodland on the backlot stage. Total nightclub vibes. I don't know if anyone's ever been to like the Mad Tea Party event that they used to do. This was just like this. This was like being in high school and or college and just dancing the night away like a fool. It was a total club scene, complete with a DJ, lights, projections on the stage, dancing. Everyone was dancing. There was even an appearance by our favorite little demons, Pain and Panic. I never see them in the park. That was awesome. And speaking of characters, let's talk character appearances and meet and greets. Really scattered around the park were many obscure characters that I didn't even expect to see. You always sort of expect to see Maleficent or the Evil Queen or or these great staples that have a huge following in Disneyland. And we saw those as well as some more obscure favorites like the Sheriff of Nottingham or Prince John from Robin Hood. We saw Loki, who's usual, but over at Pixar Pier, they had Lotso was out. Um, Chef Louis from The Little Mermaid was there. We saw the bowler hat guy. They even had Edgar, the butler from the Aristocats, although I wasn't quite sold on this version of the character. I actually couldn't tell who he was at first. I actually thought he was Lawrence from The Princess and the Frog, the little fat guy. You know, once it clicked who it was fine, but it was kind of a hard sell for me. Now, as you know, character meet and greets aren't what they were. There's no hugging, there's no handshaking, there's no high fives anymore at this time. Maybe we'll get back to that. But for now, what they did do was they had the characters behind a rope. So they were roped off. So you would pose in front of the roped off area with the characters behind you. Now, one of the key advantages of paying for this event is all your photos from the night, all your PhotoPass photos are included. This means that character meet and greets and even on-ride photos were free. No, not free, but no additional charge, right? So that was pretty cool. I'm a photo fiend. I need to have photos all the time from my trips. So next, let's talk food and drinks. This was actually kind of disappointing. This was the most disappointing aspect of the event. So the food and drink options that are listed in your guide were honestly nowhere to be seen. I was told that items weren't available. I was told that items were coming out later. I was given a whole bunch of reasons why I couldn't find any of this food, and it's all marked on the map, but just these places didn't seem to have food. I heard a few other channels talking about this as well. Let me know in the comments below if you found food or not, because I didn't. Now, I didn't go starving, obviously, because Food and Wine booths were open, but I really had a hard time finding these things. I didn't find any of them, actually, nor did I really see anyone walking around with them. So I don't know if my timing was poor or what. All right, let's talk rides. This was a big question I got from a lot of people. What rides were open? What were the wait times like? Which ones weren't available? Just about all of the rides were up and running. So we took advantage of hitting as many rides as we could during the event because capacity was much lower. And in most, if not all cases, we virtually walked on almost everything. Rides like the Incredicoaster or Toy Story Midway Mania were really about a 5 or 10 minute wait. Less exciting fare like Monsters Incorporated or even The Little Mermaid walked right on. Some of the more high demand rides like Radiator Springs Racer or Web Slingers or Guardians of the Galaxy were at most probably an hour. But as the night went on, those lines kind of became non-existent as well. Also, for Villains Night, Disney switched out Guardians of the Galaxy from Mission Breakout to Monsters After Dark. It's a different storyline. So instead of going into the fortress to save the Guardians of the Galaxy, you go into the fortress to rescue Baby Groot. The music's not as good. I wish in this version of the ride you got to see all the Guardians of the Galaxy, but it was fun to experience for a night. And speaking of ride overlays, folks, Soarin' Over California is back for a limited time. The original version of the ride is back. So when you go onto the ride, you will not be doing Soarin' Around the World. It's Soarin' Over California. It's all the original scenes and scents. And it was so wonderful to get on that ride again. This was truly like welcoming back an old friend that you hadn't seen for years. That was truly a delight. And if you're in the park and you haven't been on that, or maybe your young ones haven't seen that one, take them on it. It's so great. It's a bit of 90s nostalgia for me. Next up on the list, let's talk about merchandise. This was kind of another disappointing aspect of the night, the merchandise. It says here in the guide, beginning at 8 o'clock p.m., check out sketch art featuring the Villains Night logo at Off the Page in Hollywoodland and knickknacks at Pixar Pier. So the merchandise was basically artist sketches. Now, I'm not dissing artist sketches. I actually think they're really cool, but I really would have liked a shirt or a commemorative pin or a hat or something. Now, there was your usual Villains merch available in the stores. For example, right now it's very popular. There's a black and white, almost like a checkerboard shirt, and each square has a villain in it. Everyone was wearing those. But, I wanted something a little more exclusive. Maybe something that said Disneyland Villains Night 2022. Something special. I thought they could have done a lot better with the merch. Also, there were a lot of people walking around with headbands that had Hades flame hair on it. Those were cool. So merch was disappointing. Let me know. Maybe there was more merch and I missed it. I mean, I apparently missed the food, so maybe I need new glasses. I don't know. So let me know. Drop a comment down below. Did you find any other kind of merchandise that tied into this event? Now, the next day, we were at California Adventure, again, during their usual theme park hours. And that merch I just mentioned, the shirts, the sketch artist stuff, those were still out. So even the stuff that says was exclusive to the event was still kind of available. Do better, Disney. I'm so willing to give you my money if you just give me something cool for it. Totally. Nah. So to wrap up this video, is it worth it? Is it worth $119? Well, here's my answer. Maybe. Here's the thing. I live in Chicago. I don't live in California. I'm not an hour or less away from the park. So for people who live out there and Disneyland is in their backyard, maybe this is worth it. You get to see a different version of the park than you're used to seeing. For someone that lives halfway across the country, if not more, don't get me wrong, it was cool. But I was traveling with someone who had never been to Disney before. She didn't know what this park looked like to begin with. So she was actually kind of underwhelmed. And this is the first time I've been to an After Dark event. So some of them, it looks like they're a little more themed. I feel like the ones in Disneyland Park, from what I've seen, are a little more detail oriented. I know there's a lot of projection overlay for the castle that has been done in the past. They did a projection overlay for Villains Night on the McCarthy Circle Theater restaurant. And that was cool. But really, for people who haven't seen the park before, I don't know that's worth traveling halfway across the country for. However, I thought it was kind of cool. For one, I've been coming to the parks my whole life, and I have never seen the Sheriff of Nottingham. I've never seen Pain and Panic in the parks. That was cool. That was new to me. Seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy overlay, which I've never seen before, that was awesome. The food and drink, I'm sure it was great if I could find it. I couldn't. I went starving all night. So for $119, I don't know if it's worth it. Your standard theme park ticket, if you're just going for a day, is around 105, something like that. This is more expensive than that, and there are some exclusive things. There's definitely more live entertainment. There's more characters. The merch didn't really seem very exclusive. Food, like I said, couldn't find it. I would probably rather pay $105 or a little more to just do a full day at Disneyland and Park Hop. Anyway, I'm one person. That's my opinion. It's worth it about as much as it isn't. If I missed this event, it wouldn't have killed me. I can still go and have great villains related memories in Disneyland, and I do. So in the end, this event didn't really make or break my experience. We were at the parks for 4 days or so we got to see the best of Disneyland anyway. This was just kind of something extra. If the theme speaks to you, go. This event really spoke to me because I love the villains, and I thought, well, let's give it a shot. So you may find an event that you think, oh, wow, Star Wars night. I love Star Wars. Let's go. And it could totally be worth it for you. It kind of just depends who you are as a person. And please sound off below if you've been to other events. Let me know how this one compared to them. Please, I would love to know more. Maybe there's better events. Maybe there aren't. Who knows? And if you like this video and you want to see more content like this, please give me a like. Hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment. Let me know the things that you would like to see. And please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching. Until next time, my friends. And if you see me in the park, I'm the Midwest Mouse.